And welcome back for another epic showdown here on Starcraft fastest map between none other than 458 and Yang Shigi Sunyun, also known as Rabbit, or Toki, which is Korean for rabbit, also Japanese for rabbit. For some reason they have the same word. I mean, the languages do have the same roots, so it's somewhat understandable why they would have some similar overlapping words, but we're not here for a linguistics lesson. We're here to witness us some greatness. At least I hope it's going to be some greatness. One thing I do know is that 458 and Rabbit usually have very fun showdowns between each other. 458, of course, always the aggressor, always very aggressive with his approach. Non-stop aggression, great thinking. Perhaps not the best macro player in terms of building his base. He kind of tunnel visions on only trying to attack, never takes the time or the time off to start, getting more buildings on the map. For example, a tech switch into carriers after he's, well, done with his gateway units. So that's one of the weaknesses we are and will be looking at here for 458, is can he switch into something else when the time needs him to, or will he stick to the same thing and try butting his head into a wall, which is, one of the few things we often see him do. Most of the times, he just, makes it work, because his execution in the things he does are almost unmatched. They're not as creative as, for example, Brain, who just has absolute insane attention for detail and planning, and always knows exactly what you are thinking as his opponent. Whereas 458 kind of just, outplays you with micro, control, macro, all that kind of stuff. And then we have Rabbit right here on the bottom side of the map. We've been looking at him for quite a while. He started off with that, of course, hatchery there in the choke and a pool following up right after. And a nice cute little mix of hatcheries here at the bottom. One macro hatchery as is usual. He's got 6 Zerglings queued up. He's getting a choke there in the front, but because he hasn't been scouted yet, he is taking some liberties, so to speak, by not starting that sunken up there in the front right away, but he's taking a little bit more time so you can get a little bit more economy up and running, even getting a second macro hatchery there in the back. So that's the little small things that Rabbit really likes to push. He likes to push the envelope, but also push the risks by always trying to cheat the system or the game a little bit to get himself a small advantage. So we can see right here, most players would have just started up 2 sunkens there in the front. But Rabbit knows that, well, I haven't been found yet, so I can somewhat safely assume that I'm not getting attacked anytime soon. So he doesn't get any sunkens there in the front. Oh, he still doesn't have them. It's already 3 minutes in, and he's still cheating the game, so to speak, by getting even more macro hatcheries. He has a 3rd macro hatchery there in the back. 458, of course, sees all this, but we also know that 458 cannot go for an offensive or aggressive attack on the Rabbit just yet, because he is facing Zerglings in his base, which realistically speaking can do a lot of damage, although he can't do this because it's outside of the range of the cannon. But also at the same time, we are seeing the Sunless coming up here in the front for Rabbit, because Rabbit now knows that, alright, 458 has got Zealots up, he's got his Cybercore finished, so it's right about time that I start to build some defenses. And he won't even finish his first sunken up until 4 minutes into the game, which is almost a minute and a half after most players would have their first sunken finish up there in the front. He doesn't even turn them into sunkens, he's just giving them his creep colonies, and he's hanging his overlords here at the entrances of 458's base, who is still chasing. No, he's no longer chasing those Zerglings. He's moving those Zealots out over the map, gonna go for an attack, which also means we're gonna be seeing these sunkens turning into, creep colonies turning into sunkens. He's putting up a... so he moved his axe there to the side in an attempt to block access to the sunken, which is pretty smart. Plus an Evo Chamber there up in the front as well. But Evo Chamber won't... well, Evo Chamber is up a little bit late. The sunkens in the back actually are a little bit late. He does have a blocks going, but the Zealots will definitely get on top of the sunkens once the Evo Chamber goes down. A couple of Zealots will go down though before that happens, but it did slow. Cross was a little bit slow. Actually, everything works out just fine, just in time, exactly on time. So that is some very, very good planning there from Rabbit, following his experience and his knowledge to get all of that up at the exact right time. I thought he would be a little bit late with the timing of his Sunkens finishing, but he got it off perfectly fine. Although now he's staring down the barrel of some cannons finishing up here in the front, which are going to threaten his Sunkens and his hatchery there. Although I don't think the cannons can reach the hatchery, so it will just be those Sunkens. Rabbit is responding in kind by putting up Sunkens of his own to try and match those cannons in the front, and I do think everything will finish up right at about the same time. Let's keep our eyes on this little exchange that's going to be happening here, because once these Sunkens finish... Oh wait! Everything is just outside of each other's range. That is... alright. I thought that maybe this could shoot this far, but I guess it would have to be right here. So you can shoot it to this portion there. So if the Sunkens had me move a little bit more forward, they could attack each other, but at the moment, what we're looking at is, well, just a stare down between Sunkens and cannons, while 458 is progressing his tech into the next stage, because he's getting a lot of robos up here in the middle. 3 of them in total, getting a couple more cannons there as well. He's got a lot of zealots there too. And he's already on 42 probes. As Rabbit only just now getting his second Evo chamber. Well, his first, because the other one died, so this is his second, but also his only Evo chamber. He's getting hireless lags and speed. Rabbit invested a lot into getting that choke up here in the front. Had to pull a lot of drones from the back to the front, so he's apparently a little bit small in terms of macro hatcheries, even though he got those macro hatcheries up by cheating the system just a little bit, by getting as much advantage out of that early game as he could, which did result in him having now almost 40 drones, but he's still only on 4 extra macro hatcheries. Could have had more, but he's mostly investing into a lot of Sunkens here in the front to try and delay that frontal push that's going to be coming in from 458. But these 2 shuttles give away the fact that 458 might actually try to go for a drop into Rabbit's base instead of going for that frontal push. These zealots would trick you into thinking that he would be going for that frontal push, which is also what I think Rabbit was thinking and expecting. But instead he'll be looking at a lot of Hylolis landing in his base. Rabbit is trying to go to the front there. He's expecting the frontal attack to be happening, but instead he sees the shuttles coming in with the Overlord. And they're getting a load here on the side. They're going in for the exchange, for the attack. They're fighting very close to the Sunken, so 408 moves those zealots away from the Sunken and is going for the drones that are in the back. But more Hylolis have just spawned. And this exchange is going to be a very, very interesting one, because I'm not sure who's going to win this one. It does look like 408 has more units, but they're getting chased around. They're getting run around. The Hylolis are just kiting them, and they run into the Sunkens. And the units here in the back, though, are disrupting the income from Rabbit quite significantly. Lost, I think, 10 drones already. Before they simply target firing the drones. Killed 11 of them. That's very painful. It's basically the same as getting hit by a drop. Plus, there was a lot of downtime in his mining, because his drones were not on the minerals, trying to clip into the zealots, trying to stop them from damaging them, trying to stop them from hitting them, but it wasn't really working. Now the question is, can 458 capitalize on this, or will Rabbit recover? Because there's still a lot of Sunkens in the front that he has to fight through first. 458 is looking kind of healthy, got 60 probes, more of them of course on the way, adding a third Nexus there in the back as well. Got Storm upgrade on the way, got Shuttle Speed there being built as well, and Cybernetic Core is getting that Dragoon range upgrade, he's also getting armor, and he's adding on more gateways as well. Still only has 3 of those robos there in the front, and only 3 cannons still. But he's not really fearing any attacks coming out from Rabbit anytime soon, because he disrupted Rabbit's income and his progression into the next level of tech, and of course into the next level of base size, because at the moment he only has 3 extra hatcheries there on the way. His probe count's only on 30, which isn't all that great. More drones are spawning there though, but he's still in the process of recovering from that 12 zealot attack from earlier. These pylons on the side are interesting because 408 has already built himself a skeleton, or at least a foundation of pylons where he can build cannons on, as he's doing right here. Those cannons will deny Toki with a lot of side vision that he would so gladly have against all those shuttle drops that are definitely going to be coming in, hunting for drone kills or simply Hylolis kills, because if the Overlord, if the Reaver and Zealot count is this high, he can honestly just drop anywhere inside of Rabbit's base and kill a lot of units and deal a lot of damage. Rabbit is still on a very low drone count, but he is looking a little bit healthier than before. A lot of the drones have been sent there to the front to build new Sunkens. Right here, there's a total of 7 drones sacrificed there for Sunkens. Lurkers are just now on the way. He's going to have to cancel them if he wants to fight back against all these units coming in now. He's got to pull his drones away as well, because that's a lot of Templars, and Reaver's going to be unloading there on top of the lair. But although It's mostly just Templars and Zealots. There's no Reavers in the mix. The Templars are trying to storm on top of the drones, but the Templar gets shot down just in time. There's one more Templar on the top, but that one doesn't have energy anymore because it's already stormed, and Rabbit loses almost no drones whatsoever, but did lose a lot of mining time, did lose a lot of Hydralisks. But in the end, he comes out, well, as you would want him to come out of this, which is not taking a lot of damage, which is exactly what Rabbit needed. The pusher in the front for 458 is not going that fast, because those Sunguns are just around the corner, and the Reavers cannot shoot in those Sunguns just around the corner, which kind of trips them out, which will force 458 to either send in a lot of Zealots into this mass sunken frontal portion, or he's going to simply fly them into the base, which is becoming progressively harder, because as we can see right now, there are 6 Lurkers there protecting that lair, which didn't take any damage from those attacks priorly. And those Lurkers will make it harder for Reavers to unload or Templars to unload, because they might get taken down instantly, or they will at least get taken down within a matter of seconds. And of course the Hydralisks there on the side are there to support. Rabbit now is going to, I think, go for a massive spike in drone count, as we see a lot of drones finishing up. So Overlords are on the way on the side as well. Drops here on the bottom corner under the minimap, ready to fly in and hit for Rabbit once again on the drones. Whether he will hit though, I am not sure, because his Hydralisk there in between, and Rabbit is pretty good at responding to drops. It's one of his greatest strengths, is being able to catch those drops as they're flying in and respond to them as he should be responding to drops. It is by keeping his drones safe and attacking the shuttles as he does, but he's going in from both sides at the same time. He has to target fire the shuttles, but he's actually getting caught off guard there. Pulls the drones away just in time though, and the storms don't hit. Shuttles from the other side though did get sniped, so he was at least aware of one of the 2 drops coming in. He keeps his drones alive and secure once again. So 43 drones now. He did lose a couple of them, but more drones are spawning. He's getting more Lurkers there as well. He has a total of another 9 there on the way. Well, 10. One of them already finished. The other's now finishing as well. So now the game is pretty much up to 458 pushing the envelope, or pushing the frontal portion here. He's getting a lot of cannons up there on the sides, which are going to make life very difficult for Rabbit. 458 is taking his time. I really would have liked to see him spend more of his attention on pushing through the front there, instead of trying to use mostly just shuttles, because I think if he tries to put pressure on the front, it's going to soak up a lot of minerals from Rabbit, who will be forced to spend minerals on rebuilding the choke point and rebuilding most of his Hydralisks. Because right now he's got about 16 Lurkers here in the back. Maybe it's less, maybe it's more, but it looks like 12. Is what I have right now. I'm not sure where the others went. Oh, it's 3 there in the front, so yes, he does have 15 or 16 of them. Rug's not going to burrow up there in the front. There's no observer there in the front either. That's a little bit of an oversight there from 458. Now the push is happening. The Lurkers are doing a lot of work there on the Zealots. The Zealots are having a really tough time really doing any damage. He kills 6 of them Sunguns, getting a Storms up on the Lurkers there below the Sunguns as well. It's a pretty huge hit there, because losing those Sunguns, Lurkers I mean, is a pretty big hit. He's making Let's make new Lurkers as well. Just finished up, another 5 there, ready to enter the fray. He's got 13 Lurkers here burrowed up around his hive. Well, soon to be hive, it's still a lair. And a couple of them are going to be burrowed up on the sides, because he's expecting mass Reaver drops inside of his base. So I expect, because the frontal attack, as we saw right there, didn't really get much results. Didn't get as much results as I thought it would. It's really difficult for those units to get around the corner, because this choke point is rather small, and there's a lot of firing ability for all those Sunguns to hit whatever's entering right at the same time, and of course Lurkers are in the mix, make those Zealots rather useless as they're attacking. So they go down pretty much instantly. So of course is coming in to kill a couple of those Overlords to deny a lot of side vision, keep Rabbit busy for now. Frontal attack happening there at the same time as well, but it won't really do much. He just needs observers. He just have observers on the way, or already out, I think. Can't find them though, I don't see the observers, so he's just gonna stick to those mass drops there from the side. Comes in there on the side, gonna unload there on the side, he's gonna fly for the hive. He's gonna fly. He's just outside of the range of. Does he have energy? He does have energy. Storms on the Hydralisk instead of on the drones, because the drones pulled away there to the left side, I mean the right side of the base. Kills most of the Hydralisks there, but doesn't really get any much done. Once again, a couple of Dragoons trying to get in on the front, but they just happen to go down, and the Reavers cannot shoot around the corners or hit anything near in the back, because those Lurkers are there blocking. Well, not really blocking, but as soon as those Reavers crawl up to hit these Sunguns, these Sunkas will attack, and the Lurkers will attack. So it's one of those things where it's kind of the map, the coding of StarCraft working against you. Shooting around corners, not possible. And 458 is definitely suffering from that phenomenon. So Rabbit is looking pretty healthy. 64 drones, 170 supply, getting richer, getting bigger. He's got now 6 macro hatches here, another 4 here for a total of 10. And I think soon he'll be expanding even more once his income stabilizes, as he gets more drones as well. But at the moment, first he wants more Hydralisks, and he's also going to max out, so we might not be seeing extra drones yet anytime soon. It's mostly just Lurkers, Hydralisks that he's relying on. He's getting upgrades for them as well. He's already on level 1 attack upgrade for the Lurkers and the Hydralisks, whereas 458 is on level 1 for armor, 0 for shields, level 2 for weapons. So he's doing pretty fine as well, making a lot of shuttles once again. Going to go for a frontal attack again, try to break through. He's got observers this time around as well. And let's see if those Lurkers stay alive for long. 2 of them go down. The Zealot's getting on top of the Sunkas this time around as well. And shuttles coming in from the front to try and drop the minerals. Will he get a hit off though? He doesn't get a hit off because they fly straight into Hydralisks, which take them down. And they just take down a lot of structures here in the front this time around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Wow, he went over 10, 11 killed Sunkens there, killed a lot of Hydralisks and Lurkers as well. Does lose all of his units there in the end though. And a couple of Lurkers have been sent there as well to try and stabilize this choke point. And more Sunkens are being built there too. So he is recovering though. The follow-up is not quick enough, but then again, if you send your entire mass into that choke point and it dies pretty quick, it takes a while to rebuild that entire mass. One thing I would like to see is 458 building just mass gateways here on the middle instead of building all of them there in his base. They are safe there in his base though, safer than on the middle, but the distance is pretty big. But he's going for a mass drop to circumvent all those Sunkens here in the front that Rabbit is now building. Rabbit is a real turtling expert. As you can see, he's got spores on the sides, Lurkers everywhere. He's got a lot of Sunkens there to protect. He's going to come in from the side there, going to unload somewhere, but he's going to unload with on top of Lurkers. There's an Observer there in the mix, but the Observer's going to go down to the spores pretty quick because the shuttles fly away, which of course then the Observer becomes a target of those spores, and he doesn't get that much done. The idea is great, but the results not that great because there's simply Lurkers everywhere and he needs Observers to kill those Lurkers. But Rabbit is pretty smart at putting Observer, means spores, next to his Lurkers so that the Observers that are flying in alongside the mass drops can no longer detect the Lurkers because they will go down of course within seconds. And then it's just Lurkers, you know, having free fire on Templars, Dragoon Zealots, whatever 458 is dropping in that base. Yeah, so 4 more macro hatcheries. There's 2 more here as well. It's getting 3 more there too. It's a total of 9, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 total macro hatcheries. And of course the main hatchery for number 20. So his macro ability will be absolutely phenomenal very soon in the near future. But first we're going to be looking at another mass drop coming in from 458, who's going to try to once again disrupt that income from Rabbit. But there's Lurkers everywhere, so I'm not going to see this work out. He's going to try to drop on the side again, but there's Lurkers there too. Damn it, there's Lurkers everywhere. Rabbit is really planned this out really well. He's really taking his time, making sure that he's secure and safe, making sure that whatever approach 458 is trying won't have the results he wants them to have. But again, another drop comes in. This one is really quickly loaded up. He's going to try to unload right next to the hive. Drones are going to have to pull away. He's going to unload on top of Lurkers there though, so he's going to go down pretty quick. But he's dancing back and forth. There's nothing in there. There's nothing in there. He's just sacrificing his supply count because maybe he knows that mass drops maybe isn't the way to go. He's just going to have to do the good old rinse and repeat frontal attacks, trying to break through and whittle down the army count with Reavers, Dragoons, and Templars. That's what I want to see him do. But as I've mentioned before, at the start of this video, sometimes 458 is not the kind of person to spend his time on building or on, you know, switching up what he's doing. Sometimes he likes to do the same thing time and time again, hoping it will sooner or later get some results. But we haven't seen those results yet, aside from that one drop that killed drones. And it was Zealots that killed those drones. It wasn't a Templar, it wasn't a Reaver, it was Zealots that did the trick. And since then, he hasn't really had any success on dealing any damaging blows to his opponent. Once again, a lot of shuttles there spawning, so once again he's going to stick to mass drops, but I just don't see a single way for him to get in here. There's so many spores, hydralisks, and most of all lurkers, which I've already mentioned about 20,000 times. But I cannot stress their importance enough, because they just shut down all these attempts from 458 so easily. And now there's Guardians in the mix as well, which are currently on 0-0 upgrades, as opposed to the 0-2 upgrades on those Hydralisks and those level 2-1-3 upgrades on the Dragoons, which will very soon be level 3-3-3. As soon as, of course, he queues up those upgrades on his forges, because at the moment he's not upgrading anything whatsoever, whereas Rabbit is getting every single upgrade he needs for air and ground at the same time. He's rich, he's feeling good, and he's just gonna keep on, you know, Rabbit is gonna start coming online now. He is completely prepared to turn this game on its head and start throwing some damaging blows in 458's direction and hopefully land a pretty good blow there on, well, somewhere and get a knockout punch. But first he's going to have to do the very slow process of breaking this contain by using those Guardians to kill those cannons that are on the side, so he has a little bit more vision on the map, because at the moment he's got none of that. No vision whatsoever, except they're in the top corner with an Overlord there ready to provide vision for storm drop dodges. Corsairs there clearing out the Guardians. Hydralisk trying to break through the front, but there's not enough Hydralisk. This pretty much his entire supply count is in Lurkers, which is kind of the downside of those Lurkers. Yes, they are awesome for defending, but if you want to be the aggressor, you kind of run into a wall where they're no longer that useful, at least on fastest map, because they're very easy to storm, they're stationary, you need dark swarms to protect them. If you just send them into those cannons, they're gonna die before they even burrow up and get any results. Once again, drops there unloading on the sides. Once again, the Observer is not there. The Reavers don't really get any results. He's trying. He's really trying his hardest, but not getting anything done. Rabbit is just having a great time here, playing a Turtle Zerg, which at this stage in the game is really difficult to break with conventional means. Well, actually, the only real approach here, I think, is actually Reaver, Dragoon, Templar in the front. But it's so hard to break through, as you can see. He's not getting any results because the circle... Well, there's a nice little fight going on there on the side, of course, against Mulisks. Corsairs, of course, at the moment stronger because they have some upgrades which the Mulisks don't really have. They have one carapace. That's not that significant against level 2 attack on the Corsairs, but the Mulisks in the end do win because they were spread out. But what I wanted to talk about is this little U shape here of those Sunkens is great against his choke point, because every single Sunken can hit whatever is in his choke point. But whatever is in his choke point is having real trouble hitting everything that's down here. Look at him, he tries to go in. Pew, everything starts shooting on those Dragoons. Dragoons having a tough time there. He's very slowly making progress as the upgrades on Dragoons get better and better, and as the Reavers behind those Dragoons can shoot on those Sunkens from a somewhat safe distance, and the Sunken count has been reduced to, I think, about 10 or 11, but Hydra's coming in from the back, ready to support those units there in the front, trying to take them down. He just gets a couple of shots off on those Reavers, but the Reavers, of course, are getting protected by Dragoons and by Templars. So one Reaver there stays alive, more Reavers are spawning, more Dragoons are on the way, and it looks like 458 has changed his game plan, finally, from mass drops into simple rinse and repeat frontal attacks with great mechanics and macro ability. She's going to have to macro, send units, and hopefully very slowly get through with his tug-of-war approach. This is basically a tug-of-war where the Protoss tries to gain ground on the Zerg, and the Zerg likewise tries to gain ground on the Protoss, as both players have to fight through cannons and units, or Sunkens and units, in order to advance. Rabbit here, though, is having a great push into the middle here. There's a lot of cannons and Dragoons are coming in from the back as well. Templar Storm comes down on the highlights, and the highlights go down really quick to that Storm because the Storms are so great in these narrow choke points. And Rabbit is most certainly noticing. And once again, he does have a Defiler mount, but no Defilers. He is getting plagued, though, but I don't see a Defiler anywhere whatsoever. Upgrades are also looking better there with a level 1 carapace and level 3 attack, whereas 458 currently has 3 armor, 3 attack, but no shield upgrades on the way at the moment. Does have a couple of Reavers here in the front ready to start the push, but once again those Sunkens have been replaced. So that's something Rabbit really likes to do. He just plays it safe, plays it smart. Also do note he managed to sneak out one of them Overlords to this nice little spot there. He's building a Nidus Canal. So we can start Nidusing units over from his base into this corner there and go for a very nice sneak attack that 458 is not expecting because he has no vision here or anywhere here, and the Hylids are coming in. I'm gonna go for the attack into the main base, I'm sure. Maybe they're gonna flank from behind. Not that many Hylids there though, because while most of this supply is in lurkers, entering into the middle is gonna go for the attack from behind. I'm gonna try to kill those Spiders or those cannons, but more cannons are on the way. There's a lot of Reavers here inside this little pocket as well, behind the Robos, which are going to have a great time defending against those Hylids that are coming in, but the Hylids are spreading out, trying to kill everything they can, but the Reavers here are going to be the game changer, because the Reaver count is simply too great, and this Robo wall, so to speak, is keeping all those Hylids away, but Rabbit is very wisely keeping his Hylids away from this Robo wall, away from the Reaver damage. He's going to pick off whatever he can, slowly but surely. Lurkers are moving into the choke point here as well, going to block off the supply line of Dragoons coming over the map. 458 is going to have a pretty tough time. He's just simply moving his Dragoons away from those Lurkers. Although they're finding some Hylids there, they're keeping them in the focus fire. And yeah, the game has certainly turned on its head, where Rabbit has found a way into the game, away from that contain, and will very slowly secure this little portion with more Sunkens so that it cannot get killed immediately once 458 does get on top of it. But for now, we're looking at 458 defending against those units from Rabbit, which are trying to take over control over the middle, which he has somewhat done so successfully with the Slurkers here on the middle, which are going to move closer to this choke point. But there's an observer there as well, and 458 is now going to go for a counterattack. There are 3 Templars, a couple of Dragoons here ready to fight through this little containment. The storms coming down on the Lurkers, and in doing so to great success, but needs more storms. The observer is still there. It didn't go down, it just overshot its destination by a little bit. More Lurkers in the back, more Hylids coming down from the Nidus Canal there on the side. And 458 is putting up more cannons, more pylons to try and secure the middle and make this an impossible approach for Rabbit. But the Dragoons are on top of the Lurkers and are going to go down to all these Hylids that are coming in from the side. I do think that 458 really has to pull those Reavers from this portion into this narrow choke point that the Hylids are coming through. The pylons there is going to build cannons, and after those cannons are finished, well, as those cannons are in the process of being finished, the Reavers are going to prevent those Hylids from joining these Hylids, so he will no longer be able to continue this attack on 458. The Reavers will secure the map. Corsairs there defending against Guardians. A couple of Guardians have been built there in the base of Rabbit, who is going to try and push out with those Guardians. But what I really want to see is have him unburrow most of those Lurkers there around his hive and try to take control of the middle with those exact Lurkers, as he's doing right here, right now, with these Lurkers here on the middle. But he might need more of them because the Reavers are simply microing back very slowly and they will go down eventually. There's too many units with Dragoons coming out from the base, and now all those Reavers are going to get replaced. Dragoons, of course, on the way on the base as well. Level 2 shield is finally on the way there for 458. Got level 2 finish there for Carapace on the high list. Level 3 there on the way. Lurking attack speed on the way as well. He's getting the Violence now too. There's still more Suckers being built there, more Nidus Canals as well, but it looks like 458 has won the fight there on the middle because Rabbit has too many Lurkers and cannot build a massive amount of units to contest or fight against 458. Most of the units are defensive in nature. But there's a lot of Hylids now coming through, and it's Hylids and Sunkens against Dragoons and Templars. The surround is there for Rabbit, but the Dragoons look pretty strong. The Storm contributed quite heavily as well, but the surround of the Hylids is really contributing to this fight going in Rabbit's favor. Now the Templar comes in. Will the Templar storm? It is going to walk into its death, it appears. It does have the energy for a storm there though, but sometimes it's just hard to keep track of everything that's going on when it's on fastest map, because the game pace is pretty high. And 458 has to focus on 2 separate locations as Guardians are tearing through this entire portion in the front. Took down, I think, about 20 cannons. Templar comes in to storm the Guardians, but now a fight here happening as well, although those Dragoons are simply stronger as well than the Hylids, but this time around he has the Defiler here as well, alongside those Hylids, so he's going to try to push through with the Defiler, Swarm, and the Hylids underneath. But the Dragoon count for 458 is pretty significant. He's reduced the amount of Corsairs and Reavers to have more Dragoons, which I kind of like, because Dragoons are kind of multi-purpose units. They're pretty much the best unit you can have as a Protoss. But that's so many Lurkers being morphed here from Rabbit. Still a lot of Lurkers there around the main. Dark Swarm comes down, and this time around the Lurkers are, the Dragoons are going to be useless against that Dark Swarm, so he has to pull back, get a beautiful spread there on his Dragoons are on the middle to try and fight against those Lurkers and those Hylids, but Rabbit is very aggressively pushing forward with the Lurkers, getting in between the Dragoons, and will get some beautiful shots on those Dragoons. The Dragoons are forced away once again. The Observer is still there, so he can detect, but he cannot attack. He can detect, but he cannot attack. He detect, but he can't attack. Oh yeah, I just did a silly meme. So the Reavers come in to save the day and kill the Lurkers underneath the Dark Swarm, which is of course why Reavers are so awesome against Zerg. I think it honestly forces the Zerg to resort to Plagues instead, but Rabbit has managed to break the container on the middle with the Hylids and the Guardians coming in from the base. So the distraction maneuver of a two-directional or two-flank attack from the side here, distracting and forcing 458 away from the choke and from the contain so that Rabbit can break free with the Hylids and the Guardians. Great move, great setup from Rabbit, who's now getting himself control over the entire map. Doesn't have control over the sides, but you know what? He doesn't need the sides because he can just go over the middle and completely ignore all those cannons there on the side. And 458 is looking at some real trouble here. Rabbit is getting through, Storms are coming down in the choke point. There's a lot of Dragoon there behind the choke point though, but Guardians are going to be coming in from the backside there, and the Guardians have some pretty nice upgrades to 1, not yet on 3-3, but it will be very soon. The Hylids have reached level 3-3 upgrades, which means the Lurkers on 3-3 as well, and the fighter there in the back will join the fight soon as well, with probably Plagues, maybe Dark Swarms, I'm not too sure. I don't think Dark Swarms will contribute all that much because there's Templars there as well, but I don't see any Zealots, so the Dark Swarm might actually just change the fate of the game. He's not using it though, not yet. Just waiting for more units to arrive on the scene first. It gets down the Dark Swarm just in time, which now means that those Dragoons are not yet useful. Zergans coming in at the same time as well, and the Zergans are going to absolutely wreck those Dragoons. Then I call the Zergans into the side by accident, but the Dragoons, the Dark Swarms and the Zerglings now means that those Dragoons have to kite backwards out of the Dark Swarm. Rabbit very wisely puts his Zerglings back under the Dark Swarm so he can get more Dark Swarms down into 458's base and continue to push. He's getting his Lurkers onto and into the base there as well. Now the entire frontal portion here is under the control of Rabbit, who is rapidly progressing further and further into 458's base, who's having a very difficult time matching up with the pace of this mass hatchery production that's coming in from Rabbit. Rabbit is getting deeper and deeper, taking down those buildings and structures with ease. With ease. Cracklings do so much damage. He's getting Corsairs into the mix there as well to snipe Observers, but the Observer is over there outside of the range of those Scorches. A little bit oddly positioned there on the side, but this is just way too many units coming in from Rabbit. He is absolutely taking over the game and dominating, and I don't think there is a single chance here for 458 to even come back into the game, because Rabbit is absolutely taking over. There is no way Rabbit can still lose this game, because the amount of Zerglings is simply too great, and there's pretty much no production on the map for 458. All the Lurkers have been moved away as well, so that might have been the deciding factor in what decided or allowed Rabbit to take over the map so quickly. Within the blink of an eye, he just broke out, got through, and started punching and breaking through and tearing down 458's base. And that was Lurkers everywhere. Dark Templars are spawning, and there's no Overlords here in the mix, so the Dark Templars might actually make a small difference, but the supply count says everything that you need to know. This mass Hylid moving across the map tells even more. Tells a big story of how 458 is definitely toast. It's only a matter of time before he calls GG. He's holding on He's trying to come back into this one, but the Guardians there in the back are going to take down those cannons, and as those cannons go down, the Lurkers can move closer and probably kill those probes there on the minerals. Now, do note 4 has 16,000 minerals, but as you're producing units pretty much non-stop, those 17,000 minerals disappear as snow under the sun. Under the sun. My voice cracked there. So he's building a new base here on the bottom corner, getting a lot of Reavers and shuttles and coursers to help assist those shuttles get in. Because he wants to get one last shot off on those drones there inside of Rabbit's base. And the storms there and the maelstroms, not maelstroms actually, just the cannons and the storms are really slowing this progression from Rabbit towards the probes and the Nexus down. But all Rabbit has to do is just keep sending units and he'll get results for sure. I mean, he's pretty much already on top of the probes. He's pretty much already on top of them. Beautiful Maelstrom there. Freezes those highlights for a short period of time, but there's nothing to kill them, no storms. Now this is it. Rabbit 4 of 8 should just leave at this point. I mean, I know he just wants to hit this very last attempt at some damage on those drones. You know, just one last little hit to go out, you know, with a bang. It's gonna go out with a bang, but Rabbit is already moving, drones are moving away, Reavers are gonna unload right next to the hive, but he won't achieve much because highlighters are just spawning all around those Reavers who are now stuck behind enemy lines. And it looks like 4 of 8 is gonna try to hit the hive, not even gonna try to get the drones because drones are completely safe and far away. That's the game. We're gonna see the G within a couple of seconds. 4 of 8 got absolutely destroyed there in the second half. It took a while for Rabbit to really get online, get big, and, well, impenetrable, so to speak. 4 of 8 just couldn't get in. He just couldn't get in. He tried a lot of different things, though. He tried some things a little bit too long for a little bit too long at the same time, a little bit too repetitive. But in the end, it's not working. He's building a new base here, though, because he's got the minerals. He doesn't have a lot of gas, though. He's going to run out of gas very soon as he keeps making more Reavers, but a lot of Lurkers are around the hive here, and those Reavers unloading next to the hive are just going to go down within the blink of an eye. Pew, pew, pew. There they are, and now they are gone. He calls the GG at 36 minutes in. Could have called the GG, I think, about 6 minutes ago. Well, not 6 minutes, maybe 5 minutes ago. Rabbit started breaking through, but in the end, Rabbit shows off a really beautiful Zerg. He did take his time, not like Humber Kasasu, who just likes to, you know, not spend that much time on building his base. He just wants to counterattack. But Rabbit really likes to take his time, get up spores, get up good defenses, play it safe and sound, get himself out of harm's way, reduce the risk, and then go for a break, which he managed with this beautiful Midas Canonier on the side, which he managed to sneak through with an Overlord somehow at some time. I didn't notice when, but he managed to do it to great success, which is quite impressive. And yeah, we got a Zerg vs Protoss win, which we don't see that often. So I'm really happy about this replay. The action was really nice in the second half. The first half was a little bit, you know, more passive. Not a lot happening. Second half was amazing to watch. A lot of great middle fighting going on there between both players, which is something you don't often see on Fastest Map. But those middle fights, I absolutely love them. Absolutely love the middle fights because it's just macro against micro, non-stop, going at it, throwing punch for punch, blow for blow, like a boxing match where you're not sure who's going to be the victor. But Rabbit was the victor in the end. So thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed this one. A little bit different from the usual stuff, I gotta admit, in terms of what happened in the replay. But I enjoyed this, so come back next time round for more fun replays. And hopefully you will enjoy those videos as well. Thanks for watching, have a good day, and goodbye.